This little one is just 6 years old, but by now she knows how this goes. This is the 5th time she's moved out of her home in Gaza. And every time the family moves again, they're able to take less and less. It's Rafah they're headed to now. Who knows for how long?
I guess our whole family has had the privilege of having this shelter. I mean, obviously they've definitely suffered, but they've also been shielded from the worst effects of having to shelter in the streets or shelter in a school.
When the fragile and fleeting ceasefire ended in Gaza, those who'd found relative safety in places like Khan Yunis realized they had to go again, further south. According to the UN, 85% of Gaza's 2 million plus residents are out of their homes.
So they're packing the car. I guess mattresses on top of the car have become a very familiar scene.
We at one point had 50 people in this 3-bedroom apartment. Day by day over the last 5 or 6 days, a family here, a family there left. Some went to the middle area, some went to Rafah.
This is Mohammed Ghaliyini, an air quality scientist who lives in Manchester, England, but was visiting family in Gaza in October when the war started.
Everyone here is preparing for the worst. I am worried for what's to come.
Despite an opportunity to leave early on in the war, he stayed.
I don't even know what happened here.
And he sent us weeks worth of videos to show the reality of life on the ground.
It's the 13th of November. I think it's the 36th day of the war now.
He was determined he could make a difference, staying and helping. That was then. Everything is different now.
Mohammed, do you think you're okay?
God. No, I don't think I'm okay.
He's now in Cairo, Egypt, left days ago. So while he's physically safe, his mind is cruel.
I live with guilt, firstly, actually, for everyone that I've left behind, I guess, to their fate. And I fear that I'm never going to see my home again. And I'm never going to see a lot of people that I love again. Okay, so Hadi has been practicing jumping from a chair and landing on his feet. Yalla, Hadi.
So I guess you'd reached a point where you thought you actually, and I'm guessing here, can't be useful to other people, but you might end up being a burden on them.
Yeah, either, I guess, by taking resources, but also by potentially being one of the casualties of Israel's attack.
There was, he said, a moment when it was clear he had to go. It wasn't long after this eerie scene. A Khan Yunis market, typically bustling, even in the worst of war, suddenly all but silent.
We had, I guess, rumors that our neighborhood was to be evacuated. The whole street was dead. It was really eerie. I was fielding phone calls from everywhere saying, "What are you still doing there?"
So yeah, it's December 9th. For the whole period of this war, leaving has been such a dilemma. It's an impossible decision because basically staying ultimately is you're afraid of death and destruction and injury. But also leaving isn't that much safer. You're going into the unknown of not finding shelter, not having enough water, not having enough food, and so possibly dying. I spent the morning listening to the airstrikes around me, and some of them sounded very close. They shook the house just like an earthquake.
Before leaving, he kept chronicling the world around him, including the frequent messaging from the skies, the warnings from Israel delivered by drone.
I'm on my way back from trying to get leaflets. The wind was blowing quite hard, so a kid actually on my way back had gathered quite a few and gave me one.
This video from CNN Arabic seems to show the leaflets he's talking about being delivered. They appear to show a quote from the Quran that references Noah's Ark and a warning about an incoming flood. Mohammed and many others took it as a warning to them.
So I think that message relates to Israel's plan to pump seawater into the tunnels. I think it's a message to the people rather than to Hamas. I think it's a message to Gazans just saying, we're going to beat Hamas. You should join us.
Speaking of drones, just listen to the background of almost all his videos. The drones don't seem to stop. Always watching, always grating.
What is it like to hear the drone droning on 24/7, it seems?
Awful, awful. They're constantly there, often really loud. Like it can go from being sounding, I guess, distant to sounding like it's the next street away. It's also like the sense of being watched all the time.
We're going for a little walk. These guys.
While he was in Gaza, he found that beyond getting water and food for friends and family, entertaining the kids, keeping them calm was critical. The ceasefire meant a bit of a moment to breathe, but just when they were relaxing, the war came thundering back.
She doesn't really fully grasp what's going on, and I'm kind of in some ways glad of it that the children are not fully aware. Obviously, I mean they're not stupid, they are aware. But this one, I'm impressed about how resilient and fearless she is. But I also hate the fact that she has to be. Yeah.
He stayed with the kids as long as he could, and then it was time to go. A decision made quickly. Tough to leave the little ones behind. The Rafah crossing not as busy because fewer and fewer people have the option to leave. The road to Cairo lined with aid trucks still desperately waiting to get into Gaza. And Cairo itself, comfortable but disorienting for a man whose heart and mind is still in Gaza.
It was great not to hear the drone, not to hear any bombing. Everyone's going to think I'm mad. I struggled to take a shower. I don't want to leave Gaza behind, and I feel like washing off the dust and the remnants of Gaza is like leaving it behind. So I did eventually take a shower.
Mohammed, thank you very much.
Shukran, afwan.